Charles Handy is a British management theorist and philosopher who ran the Sloane School of Management programme at the London Business School. In Handy's 1978 book, The Gods of Management, Handy set out 4 organisational cultures or models for how organisations operate. And that's what we'll look at in this video. Handy suggested that if you want to understand an organisation, you need to understand the people who lead it and the culture they create. And in his model, The Gods of Management, he identifies 4 types of leadership, 4 types of culture, 4 organisational models, which he relates to the Olympian gods in the ancient Greek mythology. And perhaps that's not so surprising, because Handy was himself originally a classics scholar. The 4 archetypes Handy chooses are dependent upon 2 things. Firstly, the level of formality within the organisation, and secondly, the level of centralisation or decentralisation of the power within the organisation. That gives us a chart that looks something like this. The power culture at the top left is sometimes also called the club culture, and it's named for the Greek god Zeus, who was the chief amongst the gods. He was powerful, he was capricious, and he was always minded to exercise his power. In the club culture or the power culture, we see organisations led by a single powerful and often charismatic individual who wants to get things done their way. This dominant executive will usually control access to all resources and have a low level of tolerance for what they perceive as underperformance. We often see this culture in startups, where one dominant founder is in charge, or in established organisations where a highly charismatic individual takes over the reins of power. Not surprisingly, we also see this in political parties and in crime families. The roles culture is named for the god Apollo, who stands for stability and structure and rules. These sorts of rule-based cultures are a hallmark of established bureaucratic organisations where everybody has a clear role to play within the organisation and a clear process to follow in the way that they do it. People know what's expected of them, and an individual's authority to make decisions and choices is conferred by the level of seniority of their role. Those roles are often constrained and have strong boundaries around them. As a result, Apollo cultures, and to a lesser extent, Zeus cultures, find it very hard to adapt to changing situations. They most closely reflect Shine's authority ethic that we saw in an earlier video. The next 2 cultures are more closely aligned to Shine's individual freedom ethic. The first of these more decentralized cultures is the task culture. Handy linked the task culture to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who is also seen as a good problem solver. The task culture is all about getting the jobs done and solving the problems that are inherent in that challenge. As a result, Athena cultures tend to be meritocratic. If you can get things done, if you can make progress, then you will be recognized and well rewarded. Teams within an Athena culture can be quite fluid, with people coming together and dispersing as the need arises. Remember, we're focused on task, and therefore the Athena culture is closely related in many ways to the adhocracy that Henry Mintzberg talked about and that we'll examine in more detail in a subsequent video. Task cultures tend to be innovative with far less routine than our roles cultures. As a result, authority is far less important than knowledge, expertise, experience, and the ability to influence and persuade the people around you. So we find the Athena culture in organizations like consultancies and research organizations. Handy's fourth god of management is Dionysus, the god of wine and festivity. Dionysus stands for personal freedom and lack of formality. And this is the person culture. The person culture is all about me, me, me. And as a result, we get a trade-off between, on the one hand, high levels of creativity and innovation, and the other hand, somewhat destructive levels of competition and discord and argumentation. Everyone wants to be right. There's little infrastructure within a person organization. The organization itself is nothing more than a home for a bunch of individuals. For the culture, therefore, to work, the home needs to provide some motivation for individuals to stay. It has to indulge their creativity and provide them with the development and growth that they crave. But also, to be constructive, it has to find ways to mediate between these highly individualistic workers. Here you'll find people who care more about their own individual career and position within the organization than they do about the organization itself. This is very much the land of law firms and accounting practices, where everyone is in it for themselves, and when they reach the top they become a partner and they simply have a louder voice in advocating for their own personal priorities. For me, Handy's Gods of Management is one of the very best models of organizational types. The 4 types it identifies resonate well, and you'll find good examples of each of those types in every major city. Please do give us a thumbs up if you like this video. There's loads more great management courses content to come, so please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of it. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and in the meantime, keep learning.